Okay. People want they're in the process of making a very difficult decision. Okay. It's usually very capital intensive, like we've discussed, right? And usually after everybody's done all their analysis and recommendations and stuff, there's usually one guy signing that piece of paper, and he doesn't want to make any mistakes. Okay. So you have to learn how to listen, you have to learn how to be a trusted advisor, and you have to learn how to communicate effectively. Okay. So those things right there are primordial in your career if ever you want to get into the commercial side of things.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that. What's your fondest aviation memory?
Probably fondest aviation memory was when I sold my first business aircraft, my first pre-owned business aircraft when I was when I was doing some brokerage work. I'd wanted to get into the commercial world many, many, many times, and I was doing a lot of commercial work, but I was never the key sales guy, right? So doing that first deal was very, very important to me. Learning the ropes, learning the contracts, learning how to read the contracts and understand all the contracts information that was in there, being able to bridge the gap between, my company and the client, right? Because at the end of the day, you're representing both. Because after you've sold the airplane, you basically have to sell the deal to the people that you work for. And this aircraft wasn't based in North America. It was based in Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't remember exactly where it was going to. So it was learning all the sort of the jurisdictional issues and how you get an export C of A and how you get the aircraft from point A to point B and transfer it to someone else. That was a whole facet of the industry that I'd sort of touched on, but was never fully engaged in. You know what I mean? So I think that first aircraft sale to me was the big one because that's what I wanted. That's what I was working for, and that's what I was trying to achieve.
Do you remember the type it was? What aircraft type?
It was a Nextant 400, believe it or not.
Oh my God. Wow.
So if that's one aircraft that's hard to sell, right? There you go. I actually found a company, a charter company that had a whole stack of these airplanes, and they were looking for more out of the blue. They liked them. They knew the type. They knew how to figure it out. So a Nextant 400 XT without the winglets.
I can almost hear most of our listeners Googling it right now.
They're gonna Google it because it's actually an interesting project. Because the company that does the Nextant, it's basically a repurposed aircraft. They basically take this older aircraft. I don't even remember what it originally was, but they basically gut it. They've redone some of the aerodynamics on the aircraft. They put new engines, new flight deck, and they basically recertify it as new. The only thing they can't recertify on the aircraft is the airframe. The airframe still has the time and cycles that it had when they bought it.
Yeah. What part of aviation do you feel is misunderstood or least understood by the general public, and what can they do to learn more about it?
By the general public, I don't think, and even myself when I started in this industry, right? I don't think anybody has a clue, right? Or people in general don't even think about how do you acquire an aircraft. They show up at an airline. Most of them, don't even know what they're flying in. They fly from point A to point B. They get there safely, and that's fine. But nobody really reflects on, how do you get this? Where does it come from? What do you have to do to purchase this aircraft and get it into service? Okay.